Thank you for joining us for Rhino's Horn, the podcast where we interview Canadian comedians and politicians. My guest this week is Canadian comedy legend Kenny Robinson. Kenny's done it all when it comes to Canadian comedy. He also runs the Nubian Show at Yuck Yucks in Toronto once a month and has for 25 years. We talk about a number of things like the Black Lives Matter protests, some of the ways his dad used to deal with racism back in the day, and about Kenny's experiences running provincially in Ontario for the None of the Above party. For anyone watching the video online, I'm very self-conscious about my beard in this episode. Thank you for tuning in and please enjoy.
Okay.
How's it going, man?
Good. How you keeping?
Yeah, not too bad, not too bad. You were just doing another show, I guess? Or?
Yeah. Seems like every time a black man dies, everybody wants my opinion of it.
Yeah, right. Yeah. So, you got any opinions or what?
Oh, only a few. I already had Ted Wallish and I have to apologize to his listeners after we signed off the other day. I have no idea what they complained about as they were signing off. And our apologies for anybody that was offended by any of the comments of our guest. And,
do you have any idea what he's talking about?
No. Could be anything. I mean, I've known Ted since I first moved to Toronto. He was a stand-up comic back in the days when he'd headline and Jim Carrey was the middle. So I've known Ted a long time. And but who knows what I could have said. But I'm sure there are different things. But that's all right.
So what was his take on it? Were you guys going back and forth, or?
It really wasn't much of a discussion. I'm the kind of guy that went in. Here's Kenny Robinson, like bang, 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 bang. You know, I'm like a Buddy Rich drum solo. So I was just watching the George Floyd funeral, and man, I think they're trying to top Aretha Franklin's time for televised funeral. They're going strong. And I thought I saw the coffin moving though when the gospel group was tearing it up. That's probably the saddest thing about black funerals is being not able to be in the coffin and hear all the singing and slow singing and flower bringing that's going along for your honors. So it is something.
Yeah, I haven't caught any of that, but I'm sure it's something to see.
Oh, I'm sure it'll be on YouTube.
Yeah.
But incredible voices and on Facebook yesterday, somebody posted that all these crimes or arrest record of that Floyd had, and meanwhile, I'm saying, well, how come nobody mentions the video that I put out there that I found that he was up there telling the youth not to use guns and telling older people on the street, settle it with your hands, don't pick up that pistol, So he was advocating kids not using guns. He was trying to be a role model, trying to be a mentor. And none of that mattered.
Yeah. Well, the fucked up thing too, like I definitely heard some of that and started to go down the spiral a bit. And then I was like, it doesn't matter what he did or didn't do or any of it.
And he was resisting. You're supposed to resist when a fucker is standing on your throat.
Yeah.
That's not, what do you want to call it? Trying to get comfortable?
Yeah.
Stop resisting. You are breaking my arm. Well, you're resisting. Well, no, I'm trying to get my shoulder back in the socket.
Yeah.
So, it is what it is. But, until it's a cry for help. It's like, well, why are you burning stuff down? Well, maybe because you didn't hear or care about the other things that happened before. Maybe because you didn't pay any attention to Sandra Bland. Maybe because you didn't care about Trayvon Martin. Maybe it's because you weren't upset when Tamir Rice was a 9-year-old kid playing in a park with a toy gun and a cop car just rolled up there in Cleveland and smoked him out of his little running shoes. And that cop got to walk. Maybe when you put a chokehold on a guy whose crime was selling loose cigarettes to people on the street that, hey, man, can I get a smoke? Well, here's 2 for $1 because they couldn't afford the $12 pack of cigarettes. Therefore, the state didn't get their tax money on it. So that instantly became a street capital offense. It took 5 years to even get that to trial, to put that cop on trial. So that doesn't help that the Attorney General of the United States, the Senator Rand is delaying the anti-lynching bill because he says it could make a bruise a more serious offense than it is. Well, maybe it's a bruise that came from a rope around someone's neck. So, so all these things continue to happen, and people only get upset when their shit gets broken.
Yeah. I mean, I
saw this beautiful meme. It says black people have a right to burn up the shit that they built for free.
Yeah. Yeah.
meaning the history of slavery. So, how far can you pull that ace card? Well,
Right.
it's still a card in the deck. That's what people say. You're using a race card. I say, don't want me to use it. Don't deal it. Don't deal it. Who holds the stack? Who owns the deck? Don't cry because that's the card you dealt me.
Yeah.
So aren't you sorry you asked to talk to me now?
No, not at all.
You're just sitting there like, whoa, I bet you he's just drinking Diet Coca-Cola and chocolate. He doesn't even need drugs.
Yeah. No, I follow your Facebook. I see what's going on.
Yeah, I'm trying not to fight with people, and I've kept my cursing. I've kept my name calling to a minimum.
Yeah.
So
whenever you end up in jail, what exactly happened to get you there? I just see every once in a while.
I have no clue.
Oh.
Like I used the term. I said once again, the ugly American, the voice of the ugly American is heard. So they said that was a hate crime.
What?
Or hate speech, because I used the term ugly American. Well, there's also a Marlon Brando called the ugly American. The ugly American has been a term for United States policy and just the way how Americans act when they travel the world for years. But Facebook said, nope. Let's see, the one that got me 7 days, I think, 7 days. Was it 7 or 30? Oh, 7 days.
Jesus.
Was, I'm the Nelson Mandela of Facebook jail. I got 7 days because it was during all the black hockey scandal, and somebody said that the coach of the Calgary Flames was pushed out of his job.
Okay.
So I wrote, too bad he wasn't pushed out of a plane. Whoa, that is bullying. So I got 7 days for that line. Tell me I ain't the nigga they love to hate. They got me for that one.
That's
so it's amazing. So now I know. So now I learned how to spell words differently. I've created new phrases. So if I want to mention that most of the rioting and looting and breaking of windows that I've seen were by, I don't say white anymore because that could get me back in jail.
Really?
So I either spell it YTE or I start referring to them as sons of privilege.
Nice.
And then the other day I did a Zoom show with some comics from the States. And they said, "You see them skateboarders?" So I think it was something I did Sunday night. I did a storyteller thing with Brian Nasmok, and I used the expression "sons of privilege" and skateboarders, and then I did a big mugging face saying, "Yeah, see, we've got code words for you people too." Why did he just call us you people? That's racist. How can I be racist? Some of my best moms are racist. All my wives have been racist. I mean, have been white. I'm sorry. I sometimes can't separate the two. But, that's racist. Oh, yeah? Well, then how come the half-white of me can't say it, huh? Where's my half-white parade? Actually, there was a BLM, Black Lives Matter parade somewhere in Alberta they were planning, and they had to cancel it because of the racist backlash they were getting. They were getting threats and all kinds of hate mail. And of course, some woman actually wrote, when do I get my White's Life Matter parade? Ended up going the day after the Straights parade, the Straight Pride parade. So the problem is that most of the people that I wind up debating or arguing with over these things, they don't have the IQ of a glob of spit, as Brando would refer to it from One Eye Jacks. They don't have the mentality of a glob of spit on a hot, sunny day that you see on the sidewalk. I'm really dealing with the bottom of the shallow end of the gene pool with so many.
I mean, it's commendable that you make that effort.
Well, it's not even a matter of effort. Like my daughter posted something. Okay, so my mother was white, my dad's black, and then I've had children with white women. So that means that my children came out even lighter skinned than me.
Sure.
I've just been watering down them old Negro bloodlines. I used to want to have a son so I could continue the bloodlines that were brought over here from Africa. But the problem is I should have hooked up with black women if I want to do that. Now I'm past the breeding age, or unless I get lucky and find a young woman that still wants to have somebody, put a baby in there. But at 62, who's looking for grandpa to be the one? So my children are even lighter skinned than me. And the other day I found out that my oldest daughter, somebody had called her dirty, filthy mixed blood. And I just found that out. Someone referred to that. She lives in London. I would have drove in my car just to hurt somebody.
Oh,
I would have just jumped in that 401 with a purpose of doing some serious physical damage to whatever piece of subhuman species would say such a thing. And my daughter, just not because she's my daughter, because sometimes you could have a real pain in the ass, useless piece of shit as a child.
right.
I've been blessed. I don't. But, she's almost like a human Betty Boop, you know?
Okay, yeah.
Why would you call that person a nigger? Don't you know how hurtful that word is? That's how she would debate it with somebody.
Yeah.
And I said, tell them their mom is a white cracker whore. Tell them, and not my Chelly. So the fact that somebody would say that to her,
Yeah.
short of wearing motorcycle outlaw colors, somebody would have got hurt. Maybe that's the reason why she never wanted me to know this.
Yeah.
Because there would have been some bloodshed.
Well, that's what a lot of people are like, oh, Canada, it's not the same as the U.S., but there's all kinds of, I mean, clearly.
Hey, we got those two, I don't want to call anybody names, got those two pieces of shit that blinded that kid out there in Oshawa because they said he was breaking into cars. So they chased him and they beat him with a lead pipe and tried to say they feared for their lives. And they knocked out one of his goddamn eyes, and he had a bench trial, and they still haven't made a decision. Oh, and then their father is one of the investors in the Special Investigations Unit, so they did a real good job of sweeping that shit under the rug. And even the former chief of police, Saunders, did his part in not rushing to investigate. So as an off-duty drunk cop, his punk-ass brother helped with his father, and of course the thin blue line. That's just out here in Durham region. So, anybody wants to say to me, well, that doesn't happen in Canada, go fuck yourself. It happens everywhere across this country. I was chased out of bars and called nigger. It was strictly run or die time. Okay, Ronnie Edwards and I were laughing about the time when he did a gig back in the 80s with Doug Doherty and Tom Crossan. And when they came out, the car they had rented for the gig, the tires were slashed. And the other two comics, their eyes all watered. I can't believe people do this shit. Okay. And Ronnie had to slash, shut up. We have to get these tires changed before the lynch mob gets here. So they want to say they can't believe it. It happens. It happens today. It happens right now. So it just, and then my last thing I was doing, I was telling the story about how my father, he, in Winnipeg in 1952, 54, he was the corner of Portage and Main, which is our big Young and Bloor Street there. He was in the company of one of his, a Caucasian girlfriend, and these two pieces of whatever. These two guys started calling him whatever they did, and then they called her a nigger lover, and then one shoved her, and then he pulled out his knife and he slit both boys on the cheeks of their ass, because that's how the old school players did it. They stabbed you in an organ, you could die, they got murder beats. What they did back then is they slit your cheeks of your ass, so you get stitches, but you can't sit in a chair for about 6 weeks or the stitches rip open. You can't lay on your back or the stitch is going to rip open. If you dropped your wallet, you had to ask somebody else to pick it up for you, because if you didn't bend at the knees, guess what? Your stitches ripped open. So back in 1954, my daddy had to cut two white boys on the ass and lead them clutching their cheeks at the corner of Portage and Main. And guess what? He walked. The judge agreed. It was self-defense. Wow. So that was that was like 4 years before I was born. So it's a long time. I'm just sorry that I have never cut anybody's ass cheeks. I guess I'll never be the man that my daddy was.
Yeah, well, you still
watered down by too much white blood.
Yeah,
but
you got time, Kenny. You got time.
Yeah, I still. Notice the way when I decided to control my mouth. Hey, I still got time to find that motherfucker that called my daughter a piece of dirty mixed blood.
Yeah, we're not looking for any confessions on here.
There's no confessions.
That's
just
fucking
smiles.
wild.
Yeah.
So, did you make it out to any of the protests, or COVID keep you in, or?
No, I go out to get my supplies and do what I want. I protested before I protested free Nelson Mandela. In 1976, I marched with the American Indian movement to free Leonard Peltier. He's still in jail, huh? Jesus. And let's see. Also, when they fired, they stopped playing Public Enemy on Much Music. I was down there to march on behalf of Public Enemy.
That's awesome.
So I don't really attend the marches. Plus, you know what? Too many fucking white people. if you looked at all the damage, the windows being broken, the looting, it
Yeah.
was all the suburban kids. It's all the white kids that didn't get to go to Florida for spring break, and
Yeah.
finally that they loosened up some of the lockdown rules. If you look at some of the tape clippings from people like you can find them on the internet, not news clippings, but just like Barbara from so and so or Juanita, she posted this, and you see a lot of the Caucasian boys just drinking and passing their bottles and breaking the windows and using their skateboard to take out windows. So I'm saying, well, this ain't even just like hip hop and blues and everything else that my people have come to master. Caucasian youth go and adopt it and make it their own.
Yeah, and fuck it up.
Well, yeah. And then who gets called animals by these people that
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah.
So and then there was one that they said was for the woman that they said the police threw over the balcony. I'm going, well, you know what? I'm not exact. I need a little bit more than two guys on Facebook saying that's what happened.
Yeah. I've read a few things about that, and it sounds a little more complicated than.
Oh, hey, I know that with my kid brother who was suicidal and a bad alcoholic, he one morning about 6 in the morning, he was sitting on the ledge of my balcony, ready to jump with a bottle of my what was it? It's a good Scotch. Chivas Regal. He had a bottle of my Chivas Regal in his hand. He was going to jump off uh, uh, my 11th floor balcony, and I called the cops in because I was going to try and grab him, and I was afraid. Well, what if I didn't get that arm around him and my movement pushed him over? Ma, you won't believe what I just did. So I said, well, better call the professionals. And so they came in, and when the one cop said, well, if you're going to kill yourself, how about you and I having one more drink? I'll have a drink before you go. So as he went to get so the cop went and got a glass and put it out for my brother to pour him a drink of scotch because my brother was kind of an idiot. The cop grabbed him and pulled him off. So I can't say all cops are bad cops, and I also know how easy somebody that's not all there in the head could fall off a fucking balcony.
Yeah.
So some people don't. Oh no, but also she was an experienced gymnast. So who else thinks they could make the jump from one balcony to another better than somebody has a gymnastic background? So I don't
Yeah.
know enough about that to jump up blindly.
Right.
But if there was, if I had a strong suspicion of more in it or more information, yeah,
Mhm.
if that's what it was.
Yeah.
But I'm thinking, well, with every meanwhile, everybody there's already because we've been protesting 14 days over this murder.
Yeah.
So that was a week ago. So would any cop when watching TV, would he say, you know what, I think it's a good idea. We just get together and chuck this girl over now. This shit's, only the dumbest fucking cop is going to do something like this at this point.
Yeah.
Which means, he's seen him in Buffalo, they punch the old white guy and knock him down and, shove him and split his head open. So,
Yeah.
you can never overestimate the intelligence of a cop.
Yeah. So yeah, you ran in the last provincial election. Is that right?
For Mississauga Lakeshore.
And remind me the name of the party again?
It was none of the above, which also was the same party that Richard Pryor ran under in Brewster's Millions,
Oh,
which
so
I didn't know till I didn't remember that part of it. I just remember watching it, and he had a Chicago Cubs jersey because he was a former Cub player, and John Candy was his catcher.
That's
So
right.
I remember that part, but I didn't remember that. So people saying, I can't believe it. You're with. So they were basically a party without a real. The thing was about reform. Voter reform, election reform, and whereas I said, well, what are our policies about this? Well, we don't really have any. So I had to go in the debates,
Oh yeah.
and a lot of candidates don't get to be in a debate. So I was there and got a lot of applause breaks, and people said you were the best, but you weren't going to win. My favorite time was when this one little kid though, who's was definitely conservative. He says, which one of your parties are going to be able to tell me that when I'm older that I'll be able to own a house? I want to know which one. So I said, well, unfortunately, none of our parties can control the real estate market. The best we can do is spare no expense in educating you to the best of our abilities so that you can grow up, become successful and financially wealthy, and be able to buy the dream of the home of your dreams. And everybody's like, "Wah!" I'm going, God damn, I got applause breaks, bitches. But I didn't say that, but I'm going in my head, I'm going, wow, look at you, Mr. Smith goes to Washington. Who can top it off? So I finished 7th. I beat out the Libertarians, and they're a miserable bunch of cocksuckers. They Sorry if I'm dirtying up your thing, but
no.
This guy didn't want to do anything for the poor. This guy didn't want to help that, because that's the Libertarians. Do for yourself.
Pick up my garbage. That's all they want. Yeah.
Yeah. And the Libertarians like, no, during the debate goes, nobody ever applauds when I say anything. You ain't saying nothing the people want to hear, dude. You better say some popular shit. And I beat out the vegan party. So I finished 5 out of 7 parties. In fact, the vegan party didn't even show up for the debates. And when somebody asked why aren't they there, I said because they're at a barbecue. So that got laughs. And then of course the liberal and the conservative candidates kind of looked at me like, why is this man here? But I really like the NDP cat. I would have voted for the NDP fella in my riding if I wasn't running. For none of the above.
Yeah, if you couldn't vote for yourself,
I only had 10 campaign signs.
Wow. And now, did you approach them, or did they approach you, or how did you get linked up?
They approached me. They've been approaching me for a while. They know I had a passion and interest in politics. And Greg Vizina, he's the head of it, and he's the one that said, "Hey, Kenny, do this," and then I'm thinking like, what if I win? Then I can get me a pension.
Imagine.
Because I'm going, well, the gig is getting kind of slim. So, so plus, but it was so funny though. We were in this one greasy spoon restaurant on Saturday trying to get signatures to get my name on the ballot. And we're talking to these guys that day drink every day. And, they're trying to sell us weed while we're waiting for the cheeseburger and fries platter to be delivered. And, they got, they're manual laborers or tradesmen. Their hands got that hard, feel to it, and that permanent grease cut into their skin. And the guy says to me, so, what's your opinion on Afro? I said, Afro? I said, you mean like the kind I had back in the 70s? He goes, I don't know what kind of politician you are if you don't know about Afro. So then somebody told me it's agency for responsible. Basically, it's an organization, government organization that seizes your child support, seizes takes out of your bank account or your paycheck your child support in case your child support don't make it over to the baby mama. So here's a guy who's day drinking, selling weed, and he's mad that the court grabs part of his paycheck to give his child support. Well, I don't know nothing about that because I always paid my child support for all 3 of my kids early, never late, never short. I don't try to deduct if the kid needed a new parka and boots out of the child support I gave his mother. The mother got the child support because the mother needs a child support, and the kid got the boots and the jacket because the little motherfucker needed the jacket and boots. I'm not keeping it true. Well, that cuts into the money I was going to buy that ounce of weed with and break it down to the guys at the restaurant with. So, so I said, well, man, is this the kind of cat you want voting for you? And I was told by the party head, yeah. Anybody. Oh, and then during the debates, they're costing, well, this is going to cost. They're all using excuses why not to do this program or that program. And I said, well, once we have the tax money from the stores selling legal marijuana, we'll be able to put that towards some of the programs we'd like to do. And the entire room went silent. I may as well said, best piece of sex I ever had was 11 years old. The way they went all quiet and dead on me, man.
What the fuck?
And there's nobody even kind of looked like, yo, man, afterwards, there was like nothing. Wow. I was a pariah in that room for the next 3 or 4 minutes until Rudy started talking about how his father used to work at the gas factory or the Ford factory down the road where now they're building $1 million condos at, until we went there. So the conservatives, in fact, one of the guys I was debating against was Premier Wynn's finance minister.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Because he was ahead for the liberals in this ward then. So I'm up there like, look at you debating the finance minister going to bring up that money from marijuana taxes. Look at you dirty joke teller up there going to debate with a minister of finance. Ain't you bad? So yeah, I lost, but I never got beat so bad in my life. Well, I had over 500 votes, so I never
That's
had
pretty
such a
good.
great time losing in my life.
Sure, and that's your first election, right?
Yeah, somebody tried to get me to do. They always ask me like about 3 weeks before the finals to register. You want to run for mayor? No. You want no?
That's so
So
funny.
I think if I do anything again, I'll probably tie up with either the Liberals or the NDP, and you got to start doing the roll up your sleeves work and do the grassroots stuff.
And
But
take an
it's really
actual, take a run at it for sure, like a
yeah,
real
but
shot.
I'm not good at it because like you have to knock on doors to get
Yeah,
signatures to get you on the ballot, right?
yeah,
So, well, when are you going to knock on doors? Well, you got to start knocking on doors seriously about 6 p.m.
yeah,
when everybody's home from work. But
yeah,
what's happening at 6 p.m. after working all day? They're trying to get dinner. And
yeah,
here I am. Who is
yeah.
it? I am Kenny Robinson from None of the Above Party, and I was just wondering if what? And and you look through, you see the shadow of them looking through the eye, and I wouldn't open the door for me if I was opening the door for me. If I saw me through the keyhole, I'm not open. And they,
No,
what did you say? I'm with the party and None of the Above, and I was wondering if you would help me signature so I could get a, even your story, your pitch takes too long to even get anybody to hear your
yeah,
story.
yeah,
Yeah, and if you're not knocking at 6, you're knocking at 7:30. And
yeah,
what's on at 7:30? Da, 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 da. So some
yeah,
poor slob that been working all day had a quick fucking burnt dinner, and he told the kids, "Go do your homework or play on your PlayStation. I'm gonna start to watch the hockey game. The hockey game's just coming on. Does he want to hear me? Hi, I'm Kenny Robinson. You may have seen me on Comedy Now, and I'm running. I need your signature to get on the ballot. Who? I'm with the None of the Above. Nobody's opening the door."
no.
And so you gotta be with a good party that people ain't scared to open the door for.
Yeah, right. Someone that it's not a joke. I ran for the Rhinoceros Party and trying to
That's
get.
ridiculous.
Yeah,
Rhino, that's rhinoceros.
yeah,
Yeah. Well, at least
Try,
you have a history of being ridiculous.
yeah, and I can't really fuck
Yeah.
it up. I can just make jokes and it's okay.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Whereas I'm with the None of the Above party. Who? None of the Above. Never heard you. Never
yeah.
heard of you. Well, that's because we're None of the Above. Yeah.
You got to
So how did you do
explain.
with your run?
I was good. I beat the communists, the Marxist
Yeah.
Leninists. I
Oh
beat.
yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. I'm on poor credit. Those commie bastards don't even try to run it for election out here. Did they
yeah.
let you take part in debates?
You know what? They didn't. I didn't get my signatures in time for the debates. I didn't know
That's
early
why the
enough.
Narcissist Party can never control things, brother.
Yeah, that's
If
right.
y'all can't even get your signatures in to be on the ballot, how are you going to change change the future?
Yeah, that's right. So, how's comedy? Have you been doing Zoom shows and stuff like that, or?
I'm doing more Zoom interviews and Zoom conversation like panel shows. We got 4 comics here, run through some topics. I have no desire to try and do stand up.
Yeah.
It's no crowd. I mean, I've seen some of my Detroit comic friends. They did a night where they had about 6 or 8, and each comic had their own number, so that way people watching decided who they gave money to.
Oh,
I
interesting.
like to give my money to 7449. So then that's whatever contribution or donation it went to. So they weren't even doing a communal
Right.
pot. They're doing, you get your buyers, I get mine. But I mean, one guy even was able to get inside a nice theater and do his performance in front of nobody in a big empty theater. So to me,
Wow.
it's one step above panhandling.
Yeah.
I find it very desperate, and it's just not. Hey, I can't tell some other comic what to do, but
No,
it's not for me. It's
I
not for me.
can't imagine it feels good. It doesn't feel
No,
right.
I may as well do stand up for the cat that lays here and she'll blink, and then when I'm over, she gets treats.
Mhm.
Um, they to be now. I did one woman with a female. Of course, she's a female woman with a woman comic from New York. Why did you have to say she's a woman? Couldn't you just said she's a comic? So anyway, she said that she bought like a karaoke machine, and she's got like a little cart, and she was gonna go do her show in like the end of people's driveways, and they could pay what they want. And I said, well, isn't that cute?
Yeah,
But then how's that one step away though from just doing it on the back of a flatbed truck?
that's
Like
true.
Ronnie Edwards told me he did that in New Zealand 10
Really?
years ago. So who knows when comedy will be back to traditional venues where
Yeah.
any given night, there's only 8 people in there, and they're all 6 feet away from each other. Could you people kind of move towards the front, please, to make it feel like an audience?
Yeah.
So, um,
You could
who
laugh a
knows
little louder.
when those days will come. But all I can do is get ready and be prepared
Yeah,
and come back blasted.
that's it. I think
Not
we
with
got.
say, yeah, I still got the hits, but guess what, folks? I'm not really interested in doing that.
Yeah.
First, you got to hear my COVID jokes. Now you got to hear the riot jokes,
Yeah, that's
and then
right.
you got to hear how that second sweep of the virus fucked us up for going out to the park and hanging out too close together.
Yeah.
Park is a lot more fun than it used to be.
Well, Kenny, I feel like I've taken up enough of your time there, man. But
I'm all done for the day now. You're oh shit! I got another thing at I think 6. Hey, thanks for
nice.
thanks for doing this with me. Thanks for allowing me to be part
Kenny.
of your show.
Yeah,
Thank
thanks for coming up. All right, man. We'll see you later.
Okay, bye.
Okay, see you, buddy.
Okay.
Thank you for joining us. If you'd like to follow us on social media, we are Rhino's Horn on YouTube, Rhino's Horn on Instagram. On Facebook, we are Rhino's Horn, and on Twitter, we are at Horny Voter. Please join us next week. My guest will be comedian Dana Alexander. Dana started her comedy here in Canada, but now lives in England. We talk about a number of things, like some of the current events going on in the world, but I also get a backstory of some things that happened in the Canadian comedy community. I learned a lot. You will too. Thank you for listening, and we will see you next week.